well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway, and I am really delighted to be joined by a number of Alders and community partners and staff here today to talk about our next steps in the Housing Forward initiative. I do, in particular, well, you'll hear from a number of speakers, so I want to thank them in advance, but I want to also thank the other organizations that are joining us today, Thousand Friends of Wisconsin, the Urban League, AARP Wisconsin, Downtown Madison, Inc., Madison is for People, the Realtors Association of South Central Wisconsin, Strong Towns Madison. Thank you all for being here. Very much appreciated. We know that Madison is a welcoming community with residents who love living here in a vibrant and diverse community. And the work that we're doing here at the city, particularly around housing, is dedicated to making that possible for many years to come. We're here today because we want Madison to continue to be a vibrant, diverse city where nurses and artists and construction workers and teachers and small business owners and firefighters and many, many, many other people are able to afford to live. And not just afford to live, but to have the choice of what neighborhood and what type of housing they want to live in. Right now, that isn't true. So what we are working on through Housing Forward is to create those choices for people, to make it possible for people to choose not just what neighborhood they live in, but what type of housing, and to have options throughout the course of their time here in Madison. We want to provide opportunities to build generational wealth so that everybody, every family here in Madison has the opportunity to thrive. And to keep what we love about Madison and to strengthen our economically diverse community, we have to make sure that all kinds of families can afford to live here and build their future here. And to make that true, we have to build more homes. When we don't build enough homes, what we see is that the competition for housing drives people out of our city. So if we want economically diverse and vibrant neighborhoods, we need to build more homes. And we need homes of all kinds all across our city. We've already made significant progress towards the goals of our Housing Forward initiative. Madison has added over 16,000 new homes in the last 6 years after building very little new housing for decades. And one way that the city can continue to create housing options for residents is to streamline approvals, remove exclusionary zoning restrictions that can prevent smaller and medium-sized projects. Basically, get rid of red tape and make it easier to produce the homes that people need. And that's why my colleagues on the council and this diverse coalition of community groups that is standing with us today and I are all proud to introduce housing legislation that keeps Madison moving forward so that all of our residents have the opportunity to find homes in which they can thrive. I want to talk a little bit about each of the proposals that we'll be introducing this week, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues on the council and some of our partners to talk about their role in this work. The first proposal that we'll be introducing has to do with duplexes or twin homes, and it is really just a step that is expanding an option that already exists in many parts of Madison. In fact, some of our most popular and vibrant neighborhoods are neighborhoods that consist of 1-unit, 2-unit, 3-unit homes, all intermixed. My neighborhood, if you just think about one block around my house, there's a number of 1 units, there's several 2 units, there's a 3-unit just down the block from me. You go a couple more blocks out, we've got a bunch more duplexes and some 4 units. And I've got one of the most popular neighborhoods in Madison right now. So what we're trying to do is make it legal to build the kinds of neighborhoods that used to get built in Madison that people want to live in. And so what we are doing is allowing duplexes and twin homes in most residential areas And that will give residents more options, whether they already own a home or whether they're hoping to buy one. This proposal, again, will bring back the ability to build neighborhoods like some of our most vibrant and popular neighborhoods, where there's already a healthy mix of 1, 2, 3, and even 4-unit homes. The second proposal has to do with deep residential lots. This is, again, another example of a change that expands what's already working in some of our neighborhoods in Madison, and we know is working in cities all over the country. This change would involve residential properties that have very deep backyards. In fact, backyards that are so big that they could be divided into 2 properties, allowing a second home to be built behind the first one. This provides an opportunity for homeowners and property owners to earn income or potentially to downsize while staying in their neighborhood and continuing to own a home. It also will help create homes for others to buy or rent. The third proposal helps to streamline the process for small and medium-sized housing in our downtown area. It raises the threshold for determining whether projects have to go through a conditional use permitting process. So again, trying to streamline our processing and getting rid of red tape. The conditional use process, while it's something we've used for years, can take longer and can have a less predictable outcome. These changes will better harmonize the permit thresholds that we see elsewhere in the city, but have not been applied downtown yet. This is going to create more certainty for smaller and mid-sized projects downtown, that famous missing middle housing that we're looking for. All 3 of these proposals will help us create a mix of homes of all sizes and prices. And we want every Madisonian, whether you were born here or moved here, whether you've been here for a year or a lifetime, to be able to live in your choice of home and your choice of neighborhood. These proposals are a step in that direction. They are definitely not the last work we will be doing on housing. We expect to introduce another package later this summer or early fall. But I'm very excited that the level of support that these 3 proposals have gotten so far, and I look forward to discussing them with the council. And now I'm happy to turn the podium over to Alder Tag Evers.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, my name is Tag Evers, District 13 Alder, and I'm very, very pleased to be here. Since no one yet has figured out how we might amend the law of supply and demand, it's necessary that we amend our zoning laws to contend with the needs of our city's rapidly growing population. Density, though, is a dirty word for some, except when it is compared to sprawl, which is functionally the opposite of density, at least in policy terms. Given it's not possible to build a moat around our city and tell folks not to move here and not to come, we have no choice but to build up, or of course we could build out, which as sprawl has its own set of undesirable consequences. Not all the changes, however, that we need to embrace are dramatic. Allowing duplexes by right in all areas of the city adds gentle density, imposing rather modest changes to our city's housing landscape. Allowing more housing types in our traditional neighborhoods like those in District 13 creates opportunities for middle-income residents to remain in Madison. Otherwise, we end up on the losing end of the law of supply and demand, meaning our teachers, nurses, cops, and firefighters can no longer afford to live in Madison. One of the central challenges facing the city right now is how to keep Madison affordable for bus drivers and baristas, artists and mechanics, all the people who make this city such an amazing place to live and to work. And we all know that when there are not enough homes in our city, these are the people who get priced out. If we want a community that is culturally, racially, and economically diverse, we have to build more homes, and we have to make these homes affordable for ordinary working people. And if we want folks to live in the city with less sprawl, reduced traffic and air pollution, patronizing local businesses instead of strip malls, We need to figure out how to gently add more housing options, or density, if you will, in city neighborhoods, not just the suburbs. These proposals, as the mayor indicated, the ones that we're talking about here, are incremental. They're optional. Nobody is going to be forced to sell or build anything that they don't want. They will not transform our neighborhoods dramatically. In fact, they will mostly make it easier to build the types of smaller homes that we used to build in this city and already see, as the mayor just stated, in many of our city's more desirable neighborhoods. But over time, they will help create enough homes so that people from all walks of life can live all around our city. I know, for example, that there are people in my district who would like to downsize but don't want to leave their neighborhood. This would give them the chance to do so without leaving their homes. They could earn income, live next to their children and grandchildren. These changes make it easier to convert a single-family home to a duplex, which would allow empty nesters to downsize while staying put, maintaining their neighborhood ties. There's another example that we hear about, but I don't know that we talk about enough, and that's of millennials and Gen Z young people who can't afford to live in Madison. Imagine a young couple just starting out being able to rent from their parents or grandparents once the conversion to a duplex is complete or an ADU is constructed. I know change can be scary. I hear it all the time among my constituents. But we all know that Madison is growing, that housing is getting harder to afford. The only way to fix that, unless we can change the law of supply and demand, is to create more housing of all types. And this, let me add, is especially important in wealthy, high-opportunity neighborhoods where current zoning laws reinforce historic, racial, and class segregation. These proposals won't fix this overnight. They're not intended to, but they're another modest, incremental step in the right direction, and I'm extremely proud to be sponsoring them. Now I'd like to introduce the recently elected alder from District 18, Carmela Glenn.
Hello, everyone. Usually I'm much more winded in my work, but today it's going to be short and sweet, and so I think that I am following behind Teague, who has said most of the things that I would normally say. I just want to add that the backyard lots are a hidden potential, especially for residents on the north side. We have homes that are built with large backyards. Our residential areas contain thousands of oversized lots with spaces for additional housing, backyard accessory dwelling units, backyard lots, or ADUs represent one of the most promising housing solutions available to these smaller units. These are perfect for seniors, young professionals, and small families. The beauty of backyard development lies in its flexibility. A retired couple can build an ADU or a backyard lot and rent out their main house, using the income to supplement their retirement. A young family can live in the backyard lot or ADU while saving for a larger home. Essential workers can find affordable options in neighborhoods they serve. As someone whose son lives on one of these backyard lots in Texas, and I've seen what it looks like and how it can develop a neighborhood and allow small beginning families start and own a home, I support the backyard lots, the twin homes, and or duplexes. Thank you. And I am introducing Alder Will. I'm not destroying your life.
Hi, everyone. There are several 100,000 people in the Madison area and growing. Like many of you, I'm one of them. And I don't live in the same place that I grew up in. I don't live in the same place I lived 5 years ago. I have changed the place that I have lived as my life has gone on. When I grew up, it was a single-family home. I went to college, I lived in a dorm and then an apartment. Since then, I've lived in many apartments, duplexes, missing middle housing, and I currently live in missing middle housing. Like everyone in Madison, like everyone everywhere, what I need changes as my life goes on. My parents are getting older, my family members are having children, and what I'm considering now is different from what I was considering 3 years ago when I was thinking about places to live. That's what all this legislation is about. It's about giving people the opportunities to choose where and how they are going to live. Of those 300,000 people, each one of them is making their own decisions and deciding what is best for them, whether it's cost, whether they want a yard and a 3-car garage, or whether they want to be able to walk to a coffee shop. Everyone has their own things that they care about, and it's important that when we plan and design the city, we are not just doing it from a top-down, heavy-handed approach that says this is how you are going to live. And again, this is what this legislation is all about. I'm a downtown Alder. I live in an area that has many duplexes, it has backyard lots, and it has a lot of larger apartment buildings, and it's a great place to live. District 2 is the best district in the city. But there are a lot of places in our city where it is just not allowed to build like that anymore. And so allowing duplexes, allowing backyard lots, and changing the conditional use thresholds are all just really basic steps to get us towards rebuilding a lot of neighborhoods that people love. A lot of our core inner neighborhoods, Dudgeon Monroe, Regent, Tenny Lapham, downtown, they were all built in a way before zoning. They all have missing middle housing, and in many ways they are very loved neighborhoods. Specifically for the conditional use threshold downtown, which is the main thing that affects my district, this is just a simple step in getting our downtown neighborhoods up to date with what the thresholds are in the districts surrounding downtown. This could be, it's not going to be the defining factor, but it is going to help in terms of getting more housing built, whether that's apartments or condos. Again, giving more options to people as they decide where and how they want to live. I forgot who I'm supposed to introduce next, but.
Good morning. I'm Martha Cranley, State Director of AARP. As everyone has mentioned, the mayor and the alders, zoning reforms that promote housing diversity and accessibility are essential to empowering older adults. We support changes that help reduce barriers to aging in place, as has been mentioned, and ensure that people of all ages and abilities can find safe, affordable homes that meet their needs. AARP advocates for policies that expand housing choice so older residents who have contributed to their community for years feel comfortable remaining there. According to AARP's latest Home and Community Preference Survey, 75% of Americans age 50 plus express a desire to stay in their current homes, and 73% to stay in their communities for as long as possible. However, nearly half feel their communities may not meet the needs as they age, and 44% anticipate having to relocate, unfortunately. We've heard these concerns firsthand echoed throughout the Madison community and see these reforms, as has been mentioned, as an important step toward addressing those needs. AARP recognizes the mayor's proposed zoning changes as a critical first step towards creating more inclusive, age-friendly communities. We look forward to working with city leaders and community advocates to ensure that these proposed changes lead to improvements in housing accessibility, affordability, and choice for people of all ages. Thank you. I'll turn it over to my friend, Ruben Anthony.
Good morning. I'm Ruben Anthony, the President and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Madison, and I strongly support this proposal. I'm here today to emphasize the urgent need for affordable housing in the city of Madison. When we look at Madison, we know that vacancy rates are critically low, around 2%. So it's very difficult for families to even find a place, but it's even more difficult for families to find affordable spaces. Many families want to live in Madison, but high rental costs create significant financial burdens. For affordable housing, rent for a two-bedroom apartment is no less than $1,800 per month, sometimes making it out of reach for families. Affordable home ownership is even a greater challenge. Let me just give you some perspective. The average cost of a home in Madison is around $400,000, $426,000. That requires a substantial income. Families face financial hurdles in having money for down payment programs. We're one of 2 HUD certified agencies in the county, and we know that families, can't make it, with these prices, and they need help. They need down payment assistance and other things. One of the other challenges that we face at the Urban League is the disparity in home ownerships. They are profound in this county, and they're profound in this state, and they limit access to generational wealth. But let me just give you a perspective again about national, state, and then local housing challenges. Our national home ownership rate for African Americans is 42%, and it's 73% for whites. In Wisconsin, white households have a 72% home ownership rate. African Americans have a 26% home ownership rate. In Dane County, the disparity is not so wide, but there's still a disparity. For whites, the home ownership rate is 57%, and for African Americans, it's only 10%. 10%. So we got to do something about that. Home ownership is a critical source to developing intergenerational wealth. Owning a home allows families to build equity, which can be passed on to future generations. Parents who own a home can help their children buy their first home by leveraging their equity, leading to higher wealth accumulation. Intergenerational wealth provides financial security, access to better education. A family can help with tuition and other things. It provides an opportunity to help that family maintain stability across the generations. Parents who own a home can take that home equity and do just a whole lot of things. It could help, again, with a down payment. Many young families have to get down payment assistance. It gives them the ability to be co-signers on loans. So it gives a family across the generation the ability to have financial stability. Home ownership strengthens creditworthiness, making it easier for families to access loans for business venture, also for retirement and other investments. Wealth from home ownership allows families to access, again, higher quality education. I love the public schools, but if they've got equity in their home, they can do other things. It allows for career development opportunities. Families with existing home ownership and wealth can pass that wealth on for the next generations. So I'm encouraging people to listen to this proposal, come out and support this proposal, because we need more affordable options, affordable home ownership options in the city of Madison. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anthony. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Alders. I thank all the Alders, Okowitz, Figueroa, Cole, Evers, O'Brien, Madison, Glenn, and Ugair for joining us today. Again, I want to thank the folks who are here from 1,000 Friends, from Downtown Madison Incorporated, from Madison is for People, the Realtors Association of South Central Wisconsin, and Strong Towns Madison. And last but very definitely not least, I want to thank all of the staff from zoning and planning and the Department of Planning and Community Economic Development who have worked not just on putting these 3 proposals together under a, shall we say, aggressive time frame, but also for the continuing work that they're doing to put together another package of changes that we'll be proposing again later in the summer or early this fall. So thank you to everyone who's been a part of this, and I think certainly myself, and I imagine the other speakers as well, are open for questions if there are any.
Will this proposal expand duplexes to all residential lots or just certain residential areas?
So right now, duplexes are already allowed in, I think, about 1/3 of residential lots in the city, and this would expand it to the other 2/3.
And
Yes, if you have not yet met our housing tracker, I would invite you to check that out because we are actually tracking on a month-by-month basis how much we're producing and the progress that we're making towards our goal. And somebody's going to have to help me out. It's 15,000 by what year? By 2030. So our goal is 15,000 new homes by 2030. That's in line with Dane County housing work that's been done recently and their goals for Dane County. And again, we're tracking that every month to see the progress that we've made.
What percentage of affordable housing units for those?
25% affordable. Thank you.
Some history as far as what, last year there was some zoning changes as far as what's different between that this year and last year.
So the honest answer to your question is that it takes a while to just work these things through and for staff to make sure that we're getting the changes right and that there aren't any unintended consequences. And then for the lawyers, whom I also appreciate, to just draft the ordinance language. It's a not insignificant amount of work for staff, and that's why you've seen some last year. You see these 3 right now. Again, we'll have another package in late summer, fall, and we'll just keep working down the list. One thing that we haven't talked about is, and I do really want to give credit both to staff and to Alders and previous Alders. These are things that we've been talking about for a while. Many of these things are things that staff have identified as they work with various proposals, where they're seeing pain points or things that don't make sense in the code that are inhibiting our ability to create new homes. And so staff have actually identified a number of things that they think will make a difference. And again, then we just have to work those through and get them drafted and ready for introduction.
How many legislative sponsors do you have so far, and are you confident you can get enough support to pass this through?
I'm absolutely confident that we can get enough support to pass this through council. I believe we have more than 11 sponsors on each of the 3, but my last update was last night, so I don't want to get any numbers wrong, but we will, I think, be sharing that as part of the press release that we share out right after this event. Any other questions?
What kinds of things are we looking at for the package that you're hoping to introduce later this summer? What sort of areas will be addressed there?
So again, this is, we're working down a list of things that staff have identified as pain points when proposals come to them for the development of new homes. So it might be, for example, a project that they look at and say, this is a good project, we should be able to say yes to it, but for some quirk of the code, we're not able to. It might be a thing that they're seeing regularly. Projects are taking longer than we might like them to work through because of something in our process or our code. It's a long list of things that are, I think, modest changes that will, again, remove bureaucracy, make it easier to create housing across the city of all types.
Naysayers may be concerned about congestion or single-family housing property taxes and whatnot. Just curious your thoughts on that.
Well, and this is the reason that we work on both housing and transportation at the same time. Over the course of 6 years that I've been mayor, we have been anticipating growth in population and working to increase not just housing choice, but also transportation choice. We also know that when we align good transportation options with housing options, that we can actually reduce household costs. So I think that transportation is key both in terms of opening up choices for people, but also in reducing costs for households. And our community is growing. The only choice that we have is how we deal with that growth. And I think that what we've done both with Metro Forward and with Housing Forward is all designed to help us absorb growth and welcome more people to our community in a way that preserves the things that we love about Madison.
That question, would you be concerned about a risk to any of the character of these communities with some of these older, more historic homes or modifications and things of that nature?
So when I first moved to Madison, I lived in a room in an upper flat in a duplex in one of the most, I don't know what the right word is, one of the most character-full neighborhoods in Madison, Jenny Street, if you're wondering. And that house was not unique, right? On the Jenny Street, Willie Street area, that neighborhood, there are many 2 flats and many 3 flats and many single units as well. You know, I thought it was the best neighborhood to live in until I moved into the neighborhood I'm in now. But every neighborhood I've lived in has had a mix of 1 and 2 and 3 and even 4 unit homes. And all of them have been full of character. And full of vibrancy. So I actually think it's the opposite. I understand people are concerned. We have great neighborhoods in Madison, and people want to keep that vibrancy. I know we didn't start it, but like keep Madison weird, right? I actually think that this will help us do that, because what happened between the decades when those neighborhoods like Jenny Street and even my neighborhood now, the Eakin Park neighborhood, were built, and now is the zoning was changed to be more exclusionary, to not allow many types of housing. And so in some ways what we're doing is just re-legalizing the kinds of neighborhoods that we all love. So I think it's actually going to have the opposite impact. Any final questions? All right, thank you all so much for coming. Really appreciate you.